Hi, everybody!
Hi, everybody!
Happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah, happy Friday!
Yes, we hope you're doing well. Here in Chicago, it is snowing a lot. Well, it snowed a lot. And there's snow everywhere. Everywhere. Yeah, it's just a mess. I'm going to post photos tomorrow about all this snow. It's interesting. We haven't had something like this in a while. But
I know. It's been like that. When was it like that? Like last year or so?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we hope you're all doing well. So today, we're going to be talking about what was on the previous video for Lotus Patholistics, which was about spiritual life coaching, spiritual life advice, and education about toxic relationships. This week is going to be fun because we're going to talk about all our relationships, whether it be friendship, family ship, all the ships, every ship, even situationships. There's a lot of different types of toxic relationships.
Yeah.
Yes, so to get started, let's define what a toxic relationship is so all of you know. Toxic relationship is a bond between two people that has become draining, stressful, sometimes abusive, but definitely overall a very unhappy relationship. And it definitely contaminates your self-esteem, it takes away from your happiness, and these are the types of relationships that usually start happy and healthy, but then sort of work into a negative space because of feelings, because of history, because of all kinds of things that fester and then cause pollutants in your relationship that then make it toxic. That's the definition of toxic, physically, but spiritually it's the same thing. So that's what a toxic relationship is. Personally, I think toxic relationships, it depends. A toxic relationship could be between two good people, honestly. It could be between two well-meaning, kind people, and then suddenly it becomes toxic. And I think that toxic relationships, there's no real definition. It's all based on the people. But it's always sort of down to the chemistry. Is the chemistry between two people toxic, and is somebody trying to work through it or trying to take advantage of your partner? Yeah, what do you think? What did you define as a toxic relationship?
Well, the toxic relationship, I think it's a very tricky one because from my experience, most of the time is not physical, physically abusive, physically toxic. And so it's mostly mental and emotional and spiritual. So technically it messes up with your head. That's from I have experienced. So it messes up with your head, it messes up with your emotions, but the physical sense of it is different. So let's say that physically you have a very good relationship with someone. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be, a significant other. And so they do one thing and they say the other. And so that confusion and that situation starts becoming toxic.
I agree. 100%. So, because there's something I was thinking about since the video, right? There's a toxic person and then there's a toxic relationship. I think we should definitely discuss the difference because in the future weeks to come, we're definitely going to give a definition of what a toxic person is. I think that in the future weeks, we should definitely talk about toxic people. Or as lots of people like to say, narcissists. Oh, people love narcissists. Well, they love to talk about them.
Yeah.
Because in the reality, everyone could be a narcissist. They really think about themselves too much. But we're going to definitely get to that. So a toxic person is somebody who exhibits all the bad things about a toxic relationship in their personality. But a toxic relationship is when two people get together with or without toxic people. And those toxic characteristics just show up, which is a problem. So for any of you who, when you come on this live for the next hour, if you have advice, if you have questions about your own toxic relationships, your toxic exes, your toxic friends, your toxic family members, we're going to be here for this next hour to discuss with you. You got any questions, we'll be here to answer them. If you need advice now or after the live, we'll be here to answer it. We're here for you, and we love to give more and to give back in these sessions. So definitely feel free to give us any questions along the way and any comments on our notes. Because this is a safe space for everyone to discuss and share their story. Okay?
Yeah, because we have also experienced toxic connection and toxic relationships. And a thing that I have noticed is that usually it stems from triggers. So kind of like if you come from a specific background, right? The other person comes from their own background, and then something that you say reminds them something specific. So then they're getting triggered, you're getting triggered, and then that creates that toxicity, and no one can really tell what's going on sometimes. So it could be like a completely like subconscious, I would just say situation. Like people don't even know they're in it, you know, and then someone like from the outside says, hey, you know, don't you just guys see each other? I don't think you're good for each other. And they're like, no, you don't know us. We're doing amazing. And so I would just talk from my own experience. Oh my God. So the biggest part of my life that I dealt with toxic people, God, my step-parents, it's just like the biggest thorn in my life. And after that, from what I learned from them, from their own toxic relationship, that definitely carried in my life and how I see people around me. And I saw it for a long time, so I'm still definitely working on it. And so, first is, I remember my parents, they would just kind of like, my step-parents, they kept fighting with each other about different things. Could fight about money, could fight about the relationship with each other. And then my stepfather used to buy my stepmother kind of like those big gifts, right? To make that impression. Oh, I love you, I care about you. And then one day they would just not be talking to each other. She would just like ready to kick him out of the house. And then the next day they would just like, oh, lovey-dovey. And the worst part that I experienced, they would just try to put me in the middle of that situation. Kind of like, who is right? Who is wrong? Is mommy, you know, right? Is daddy right? Or she would just, my stepmother would say, oh, you know, your father's a bad person. The next day she would say, your father's an amazing person. Look at him. He's making all the money for the family and stuff. And it was toxic for her, toxic for him, and toxic for me. And so I carry that on, in a sense, that fear of dealing with those kind of people in my life. So if I met someone who exhibit something from my stepmother, something from my stepfather, I would just get triggered. Just like, is this person going to be toxic in the future just because of what I saw, of how they treated me in one instant?
True. Yeah. So in the video that I posted on Wednesday, and I posted it every Wednesday, I talked about my 7 top signs that you're in a toxic relationship, just basic signs. So let's run through those and give some examples that we've seen. And then if you have any questions, let us know. And then we'll also talk about extra signs that you should watch out for. Hopefully, definitely this helps you guys out to see from a life coach's perspective what actually to watch out for and what is important and what is not important. So number 1 is a pattern of disrespect. So this is something that I've seen personally. When you have a relationship with someone, a connection with someone, and you have disrespect that happens quite often, where they just will come at you and just call you ugly, or just come at you and just suddenly just, you know, ignore you just because they feel like, oh, you know, you're just looking at me a specific way, or you look at them a specific way, they just want to disrespect you just because you're standing there. I think that disrespect depends if there's a point to it, but you definitely have to pay attention to if there's a pattern. You got to pay attention if the disrespect happens a lot, because then that's a toxic situation. Yeah.
I just feel like when it comes to disrespect, again, like the big thing is that not physical disrespect. It's all about the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual part. Because
hey Sharon.
Hi Sharon. Good evening. So the disrespect kind of like passive aggressive behavior. So that's the big thing when it comes to, I would just say, toxic relationships. When someone is passive aggressive, they're not even going to be open and confront you. So I would just say disrespectful in a sense. So you say, you know, this is what happened to me today, and then they just give you the look, and you know, that specific look, and they don't say anything about it. And you say, oh my God, I opened up, I was expecting kind of lack of help, and they just disrespect my whole existence. Then they look at you for a moment, then they continue to do what they're doing. And then when they have to say something, they come back to you and they say, oh, hey, so this is happening with me today. And you're like, wait, what?
I know, right? So I feel like that toxic pattern is like when somebody wants to just take their shit out on you. They just want to hurt you because it makes them feel good. So definitely watch out for that. If you have a situation where somebody is constantly being disrespectful to you, constantly making you feel very low, it's heading into a toxic situation. It might not all just be you who's the bad person. It might just be that they're just mean.
Well, I feel like it's how much you allow that to happen. Once it happens the first time and the person sees that, okay, it is okay to do it again, because when that issue is not being addressed, that becomes a pattern and a habit. So if they disrespect you once, they will do it again. And the more that you don't say something about it, the more they will keep pushing your boundaries. Keep pushing and pushing and pushing until it totally explodes.
Yeah, definitely. And the next one is dishonesty in a relationship. So if you find them lying all the time. I found that to be a very common thing in previous relationships I've had, where I will find lies and I'll just be like, oh, that was untrue. Why did they lie about that? Why did they lie about that? I mean, let's be honest. You're supposed to be completely truthful with your partners and your friends. But every time if you talk to your friends and your partners and they're just lying to you and you catch them on lies, at least on 2 or 3 occasions, you're in a toxic relationship. I'm just saying. And I didn't think it was a sign. I thought that, maybe dishonesty is just people being, just mindless, maybe just ignoring stuff. But no, it's just the truth. It's the truth. When people are lying to you, it's because they themselves either don't know who they are, they don't know what they feel, and they're definitely taking it out on you. So toxicity, sign, that's a sign.
Well, there's the other side of the coin too, where someone says half truth.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
And you know what? And you know what they say?
Oh.
I didn't really lie to you. I just didn't tell you the whole situation.
Oh.
So they say that you can't call me liar. So that by itself,
please.
it's so toxic because in their mindset, they say, well, you can't call me a liar, right? Because I didn't really lie to you. I just didn't tell you. And then they try to pull an excuse where I didn't want to hurt you. It's because I care about you. And I was working on a way to say to you, just didn't know how. And I'm sorry that you found a way. And then you forgive them, right? And it happens again. And they said, oh, I'm sorry. And then it goes again the same cycle. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I just didn't want to hurt you, And then they say, you know what kind of person I am? I wouldn't do that to you. And so that gets into your head, right? And you say, oh, but the rest of the day they just, let's say they're gonna buy me gifts or they're gonna drive me somewhere. We're gonna go to a restaurant to have nice food and have a good time. And then going to be that one instance, they're gonna say the half lie or even completely lie, right? Half truth. And so you say, but 90% of the time, they are a good person. So what happened to the 10% that they lied to me? And then I think that you go to the mindset that you say, perhaps it's a flaw of them.
No.
Because quote unquote 90% of the time you say, oh, they're a good person, la la la. So let me go about it. And then the 10% you start having your doubts. And though sometimes you say, oh, 10 things good, 1 thing bad, and because it's that one thing, you might just let it sink in a sense. No. You don't pay attention.
White liars. Let's be honest about white liars. Oh my God, the worst. So I was dating a white liar, right? Hey Jasmine, welcome.
Hey Jazz.
So white liars. Ooh, where they give you half truths and stuff? Just like where someone just shows up and like, oh, half true, just like I kind of told you the truth. And then they tell you white lies where it's like, it's a little lie. Like, the peanut butter wasn't in the cabinet. Or maybe I didn't tell you Wednesday, it was Thursday because it didn't matter. No, white liars, big red flag. Back to the red flag, just waiting. White liars. When it comes to a relationship, it gets super toxic if you have somebody who is constantly lying and constantly white lying. One lie equals like at least 2 or 3 white lies. And if you have 3 or 4 or 5 white lies, you got a liar. A chronic liar. Actually, like a habitual liar. Just look that up. If your spouse or your friend matches the description of somebody who's a chronic liar, toxic.
Yep.
Toxic. Toxic. Oh, I can't even tell you. Oh, I hate liars. So anyway, so that's just me venting. But it's the truth. You definitely have to know how to spot a liar. You can't be, and if you find yourself looking for lies in that person's speech constantly, that's already a toxic situation.
Oh, yeah.
You need to get yourself out. Because that person's lying all the time, and then you're looking for and you're wasting your time looking for the lies. You look like a fool. So, if you ever find yourself trying to catch someone lying, you already headed up into a toxic zone.
But
so
the other person, when they do the same, when they say, you're lying to me, you say, but I didn't lie. And then they say, but you did. You know?
Yeah. No.
And they keep like accusing you, and then becomes toxic. And then you get into the situation where you have to prove yourself, you know? You say, but I will prove to you that I'm not lying. And I'm an honest person. I will never do that to you. And you get into the habit where you try to prove yourself, and it becomes exhausting. And that's by itself toxic. Every single time, try to prove yourself that you're not lying.
Oh, yeah. Liars, white liars, all the liars. If you guys have experience with liars in relationship that became toxic, feel free to share your story. Because we all got stories. I have plenty of stories. I can't even. I can't even. I remember telling a guy once, you lie, white lie so much that I just don't know who you are. And then when I heard myself say it, I'm like, wow, I'm in a toxic relationship, a toxic friendship. Because toxic relationships can really bring you down and you don't even see it happening. It's if you don't know who when someone lies so much that you're like, I don't even know who you are, you got to sit down and look in the mirror and ask yourself, why am I in this? Why am I allowing myself to be in something toxic?
But you know, people use that excuse. I call it excuse. I'm sorry. They say, but I love that person.
Oh, please. But again, love is not enough. Love is not enough.
But it's like, you need to ask yourself, what exactly do I love from that person? Yeah. And the bigger question for me, I ask like the people that I work with, right? And I'm like, okay, so do you like being treated that way? And do you love that? And then they start questioning themselves because it's true. What exactly do you love about a person if they treat you like that?
Yeah, I don't think so. I can go on forever about dishonesty and lies in a relationship that make it toxic. Oh my God. And it's even worse if you're spiritual, because let's talk about the spiritual aspect of that really quick. You know, when it comes to disrespect, you know, that's basic, you know, it's like disrespecting your entire soul. But when we're talking about dishonesty, we're talking about lies and breaking down in the integrity of a relationship. And then you're a spiritually in tune person with a really good intuition, and most women have really good intuition. You know when they're lying. You know it. You get that feeling in your stomach, and you're like, ooh, something doesn't feel right with what they said. They're lying. You know, so I get that too, because I'm just so spiritually in tune with people. I can read energies, and it just comes across as this negative void when it comes out their mouth. It's just a lie. You know, I'm just like a human lie detector in a way. I sell services. So, but yeah, it just happens just like that. So if you ever have an experience where you feel like somebody's lying and then you find yourself constantly feeling that somebody's lying, it's either something's wrong with them, something's wrong with you, or something's wrong with the relationship, but either way it's toxic. And that's the problem. If it's toxic, just get out, because love is not enough. I'm going to write a book called Love is Not Enough. If somebody hasn't written it already, love is not enough. It's just not enough to keep a relationship together. I can love anything. I can love anybody. It's not enough. You know, it's not enough. You need, first of all, romantic connection. You need attraction. You need trust, loyalty. Love isn't enough. It's just not enough. So that's final. And I get the final word on lies because I hate liars. But anyway, so let's be honest about number 3 in the video was envy and jealousy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when you're in a relationship and it turns toxic, somebody's always jealous all the time of what you do, who you spend your time with. They're jealous of the money you make. They're always like, okay, you know that feeling when you walk in a room with your lover, right? Your boyfriend, your girlfriend. And then you're like, oh, I did this today, and oh, I had so much fun at the park. And then they say, oh, you always go to the park. You never invite me. Or, oh my God, you're always having so much fun. What about me? Oh my God, oh my God. And that's all you hear. They never say, I'm so happy for you.
No, it's worse than that. Like, when I was with my ex-boyfriend, right? I was with him like for 9 years, and it was like the craziest. Oh my God, that relationship was like toxic, like the whole list that Leo has, I tick every single box into it.
Toxic.
And so I remember in jealousy, I remember the part where having my makeup on. I'm talking about dressed like a nun, right? Like I'm right now. I'm talking like summertime, because I'm like, I don't want to trigger him that he feels jealous that I'm dressed and that I'm more provocative or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just, the moment I have my makeup on, I would just have that, like, not even conversation, like that look, like up and down. And I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, oh, you have your makeup on. For who? That was like the first question. I'm like, for myself, because I just want to look pretty. And then the conversation would start, oh, it's not for you, it's because you want to go out and flirt. But I'm like, hold on, we're gonna be out together. I will never disrespect you. And he was like, oh, you know how girls are, they just do their makeup on because they try to attract guys, and what are you wearing today? And I was like, he's like, oh, just keep pulling the shirt down, you're showing enough. Meanwhile, like, how much do they pull that down? What else to cover? And those pants, they look like too tight on you. And so many different things. So jealousy can be
attention. It could be jealous of the attention you're getting.
Yeah, and not before you even get there. So
before you even get there. Yeah.
So let's say that you spray your favorite perfume, right? And so before you don't even have, I'm talking about like, you don't even have makeup on. You just like dress, just with your casual clothes to go out. You have your hair like in a ponytail. You just spray yourself with perfume. That's it. Who do you wear the perfume for? Or why are you spraying yourself? And then that's how it starts. And if you don't address it, I remember in the beginning in my relationship, I never addressed it. I'm like, I thought it was funny. I thought it was a joke. Like, I'm not like, this is fun. Like, I'm like, this isn't funny. So why is he even asking? I would just laugh. And when I would laugh, he would get triggered.
There you go.
So you could just like, why are you laughing? Well, what do you think this is? So, and then after some months, I started understanding, okay, I think that this guy actually means it. I think like whatever I do before we even get out, like for the weekend, I think it triggers him for whatever it was triggering him. So now that I understand after all these years that I think he had problems from his previous relationships, and then he brought it over to me. So he made me the problem without me being the problem.
Yes, let's talk about that. Side note. Toxic relationships, when someone brings up their ex all the time.
Oh my God! Oh, that's so toxic.
That's toxic.
Can't do that. I'm sorry.
Spread it to your friends, spread it to your family. If you see somebody talking constantly about how they've been hurt in the past, it's like 10 times a day, sometimes people do that. Toxic. That means that the person's toxic. They're broken, their heart is damaged, and they really hurt inside, and then they blame you for it. Toxic. That goes in with envy and jealousy, because that means that they're jealous of your happiness. So then they want to just complain about their relationship and how it's so shitty in the past, and then bring you down. Yeah. So that, I think, actually goes in with jealousy.
And you know how that goes? Like, when they say, when you do something, they say, oh, this is what my ex used to do.
Right?
Trigger. and I'm getting triggered right now. I'm like, what do you mean? And then it becomes toxic. So whatever you do, you're being compared to the ex. So when it comes to relationships, or even, I'm going to tell the worst now. When it comes to family, then they compare you to the other kid in the family. That's a big trigger for me. So I remember my stepmother, she used to say, oh my God, I wish you were like my niece's kid. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, don't you see that kid is so quiet? She's cute. She always listens to her mom. Why do you know like that? Toxic.
Yeah, it's toxic when someone's comparing you to everybody. That's toxic. So if you see that sign, boom.
Yeah, when she was jealous of the other kid. If only I was the mother of that kid, but no you.
Exactly.
And that's toxic just right there.
Toxic.
Yep.
Toxic. Toxic. See, Sharon knows. Toxic. Yeah, and if you have any toxic relationships that you've been through in those instances, let us know, because it needs to be heard. But yeah, so that I find to be so important. So number 4 is...
I have another story to share.
Okay.
I have a lot of stories. If you ask about toxic...
I have a billion stories.
my whole life is like toxic connections.
I can be on here for 10 hours talking about my toxic relationships. Man, but we're going to keep it down. Go ahead.
So, my stepmother, when we used to go to shop, right, for clothes, so this would happen like twice a year, she would say, oh my God, she would just say, why your hair is like this? Or why are you wearing this kind of clothes? Or she would just say, my hair doesn't look like yours. Or look at these pants, how nice they look on you. And they don't look good at me. Mm-hmm. And so she would compare herself to me. I never understood what was that about. But now I understand it's jealous and it has to do with a toxic relationship.
Oh, absolutely. That jealousy, it just creeps up on you and you never see it until someone's being completely comparative. Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I've been in that type of relationship before where somebody compares 24/7 and it kills me. It was almost the most annoying thing in the universe because you realize that person really never lives in the present, ever.
Oh, yeah.
And they just can't get themselves in one place. It's like total anti-zen, and that's toxic. You're dealing with a toxic person. That's toxic people. Toxic people compare you to everything in their life because they can never live in the moment. They're always living in the past. Toxic people. Sometimes toxic people can be, emotionally broken and need some help.
Yeah.
That's when you send them our way and we can fix them. Just send them to somebody who can help, whether it be a life coach, a psychologist, or even a family friend. If you think someone is toxic, get them help. And if they're hurting you in the process, get out. Just go. Just go.
Sometimes you can't help those people. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
Because, it's not about you not being capable of helping them. It's because that they don't want to help. They just want to be toxic.
Yep.
And if they don't make that decision themselves that they need help, they're just going to keep doing that.
Yes. Let's talk about that. Let's be honest. When you want to help a toxic person and they don't want the help, stop trying. Because they don't want to fix it. It's not you. You're not the problem. They're the problem. And I think that, what you have to do is you have to set boundaries. We're back! All right, so I've literally told someone that you need a psychological evaluation because something is wrong. That you are pathologically lying every 5 seconds and it's kind of not okay. And that you keep comparing everyone to something else. And you're living in the past, you never actually know what's going on now. And I told him, here is the list of people that you can go to. This person for this person. This is a psychiatrist, this is a psychologist, this is a life coach. Like I went above and beyond. I said, this is the help that you need. And I can even help you. So choose a path. And if you don't choose a path, I'm walking out. I didn't take my advice. But, I did the best that I could. But you have to set boundaries. When you want to help a toxic person, which we all have toxic people in our life, learn how to just set a boundary. When you can't help, you need to, if you don't know, just ask us. We're here, just ask us.
Yeah.
Hey, is this situation too toxic to help? I'll tell you. Luna will tell you. Just message me. Can I help this person? Let me tell you. I'll tell you for free, so, because it's really obvious. You just need a third person perspective to see it.
Yeah.
When someone's outside of the situation, they can definitely see into it and they can let you know when something is bad. But if someone doesn't want help, sometimes it's not worth your energy and it could hurt you in the long run. That's you becoming toxic while helping a toxic person. Don't do it.
Nope.
All right, so number 4, let's talk about aggressive speech.
Oh, that one.
Oh my God, aggressive speech. Thanks. All right, so aggressive speech, we're talking about just people who swear at you, people who are always so mean, so aggressive with the way that they talk, Sharon said, I went on a blind date once, and all he talked about was his XG. And I'm getting out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was good that you left. Oh my God, when they keep talking about the ex, it's already toxic, and that's a red flag. Right there, you just know. If the moment that you just meet them, the first time that you meet them, they keep talking about the ex, how do you expect the next dates to go they keep talking about the ex.
Yeah, you have to be willing to put up with it. Because those to be some people where they'll talk about the past and you'll be there to help them through it. But if it's to the point where they don't focus on you, as their new partner, we have a problem. It becomes toxic really quick, really, really quick. And I've been in situations where people can't stop talking about the past.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm one who talk. I'm a past life therapist. Of course, I talk about the past, you know. But basically, I talk about the past all day. But there's a difference between being aware of the past and stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm not stuck in the past. I'm aware of the past, and I bring up the past when it's necessary. So people have to have that balance, you know, but when somebody talks about the past all day on a constant basis, it's a sign that there's some sort of toxicity. So you did the right thing, Sharon.
Yeah.
You got out. And that's what you're supposed to do. Let's be honest. That's what reflects.
You dodged that one.
You dodged a bullet, Sharon. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's true.
So aggressive speech.
So aggressive speech in a relationship or a friendship is when somebody is really rude. Just rude, aggressive, abusive with their words, call you bad names, call you ugly, call you fat, call you stinky, call you whatever they want to call you.
Sometimes they say, you know, things that you... Okay. So aggressive speech, sometimes they use it as a fun way. Oh, don't be stupid. They say that. And then you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. It was a fun way, but then if they keep saying it, so you know that somewhere there's a truth into it. So they keep calling you stupid, like, oh, okay, so I think this is getting toxic.
Yeah, it depends on the topic. Like if you think that you're being helped by somebody and they're trying to tell you good advice, and every time they try to tell you advice, they're screaming their head off at you, or they're calling you like bad names like F this and F that and F you and you're a nothing and you're dumb. Like when you hear somebody on a constant basis and giving excuse to bad mouthing you,
yeah,
and making you feel like this small, like, well, okay, this small. I'm like the
today I don't know today what's wrong with you.
The closer I put, I'm like that's small, but this small. Then you got a problem. That's toxic. So yes, pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. When somebody is being very aggressive with their speech with you, and even passive aggressive, that's a problem.
Oh my God.
Every time someone says something to you in a friendship, in a relationship, and they're sarcastic.
Oh, that one. I'm triggered by that.
Oh my God, I hate that. When someone can just talk normal, you know? Just like, oh, you know, my bathroom's cleaner than yours, so, you know, it's like, if only your bathroom was clean. Just like, just tell me it's dirty and just walk out. You don't have to be here. You know, just so random. My bathroom's clean. But anyway, but it's just simple things. Passive aggressive and aggressive speech is a very toxic thing. So watch out for that. You need to be able to tell the difference between passive and aggressive and passive aggressive speech. And again, if you have questions, ask us, whether it be in this live or after this live. Tell us what your friend or your lover's calling you, and I'll tell you if it's toxic.
Well, let's take to the toxicity to the next level with the aggressive speech. So if it gets to the dirty talk during sex, and then
yep,
they take that out in your daily life, and they say, but you liked it when we had sex, so what's the problem with me saying it now?
Oh, let's talk about that. Okay.
Right?
Aggressive speech. Aggressive speech can also be intentionally trying to hurt you. So if somebody uses something personal in your life against you, that's aggressive speech.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, like they know that you like it this way and that way in bed, and they use that against you and blame you, and then threaten to tell your parents. Toxic. If you tell a secret to your lover and then they suddenly, oh, well, I kind of told my mom. Toxic. If you can't tell somebody something and then they're just telling everyone else, that's toxic. Toxic, because it's aggressively trying to hurt you, trying to belittle you. Like it's also number 2, dishonest. It's because you're just breaking loyalty.
I don't know. I think that passive aggressive is like the scariest, because sometimes like and then these people try to play the victim, because when you try to say something, you say, oh, why do you do that? And then they say, oh, I didn't know it would hurt you. Why are you triggered? So they turn it on you. So you're like, oh my God, what if it's me?
Yes. So that's aggressive speech. It can be indirect. It can be direct. Just pay attention to that when you have friendships and even family. Like family is the worst, man. When they're being aggressive with you and they're like, oh, it's because I love you. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. No.
Ooh.
Family shouldn't even be disrespecting you like that, especially your parents. You know that when you cross that line, it's abuse now. So toxic relationships, I see a lot of people give excuse to aggressive speech, malicious speech. You know, they didn't mean it that way, giving excuse to your abuser. I don't think so. When it's abuse, it's abuse. Let's
And
just be honest.
some friends say that if you are friends with someone for a long time and then it started shifting and the behavior starts changing.
Yep.
So, I've heard someone tell me in the past. I had one friend, I thought it was a friend, right? And she was like, I can just talk whatever I want. You're friends and I know you better than anyone. And so when they say that, they kind of make you feel, oh, maybe you're the only person who knows me and can help me. So it's okay for them to say something like that. So, but it is disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. So number 5, controlling behavior.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Toxic behavior. When your boyfriend, girlfriend, when your friends or when your family are super controlling over your life, it's okay sometimes if you like it. But if they're controlling the things you eat, when you use the washroom, who you hang out with,
They want your password to your social media.
they want your social security number.
You know something is wrong.
Do you know something's wrong? Like, if literally someone's controlling enough to the point that they have your social security card, you're in a toxic relationship. If you're past the age of 18 and your parents don't have your social security card, that's toxic. I'm sorry. Like, you have to have boundaries. Boundaries, please. You know, so yeah, controlling behavior is a very big thing. That's a very big indicator of toxic relationship when you see a couple walk down the street and the man is pushing around the woman, or the woman is pushing around the man.
Oh yeah, but you know what? If the woman is pushing around the man, they don't say anything. I don't know why
Double
this is
standard.
right. These stereotypes where I've seen that before. I was walking down the street and was like, this woman, she was like, push the guy's like, move on. It said like the B word after that. So there goes the aggressive speech on the top of it. And so he was like all curled up and he was walking. So she's like, do this, do that. Open the car. Let me put the child in the car and do this, do that. And just give you instructions and you know, talk to you like, oh yeah, that's definitely controlling.
Yeah, if someone's trying to control your every move 24 hours a day, walk left, walk right, controlling. It's toxic. You don't need someone who wants to. No, here's the difference. Someone could control you because they're trying to protect you. Sometimes. But when they're doing it and they enjoy it, oh, you have an abusive person there.
I'm guilty of that.
Guilty? What do you mean guilty?
So I will explain myself because I've been on the other side of the coin too when it comes to controlling. I know. So again, with my ex, I kind of intuitively felt that he's cheating on me. So I was kind of like calling him all the time. It's like, call him on the phone, text him, where are you? What are you doing? He was like, I'm at work. I'm like, you're still at work. What time is it? So it came to that point. So you would just say, oh, I'm still, in the road. And I'm like, there's no way you're still in the road. It takes you like 1 hour from work. You're doing this every day. What happened now? And then he's like, oh, I don't know. There's traffic. I'm like, I'm checking the map right now. There's no traffic. And I ended up being controlled. And they understood that I'm not a controlling person. I was acting controlling that relationship because I found out later on that he was giving me signs that he was cheating on me. And so I was trying to find him at fault and I was trying to see where he's at every time to catch him on a lie. So I was hoping that. But once I broke up with him, I realized, oh my God, I am not even like that. I developed that behavior during the relationship because I was insecure and I just didn't know how else to figure out if he's cheating or not.
That's true.
So we were talking about how, good people can turn to toxic people or be in a toxic situation.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a good example of the tables have turned, where now you're being controlling and you're toxic.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey Mel.
Hi.
So it's a good example where everything turns, and if you're actually the one being toxic, you got to get out of your toxic relationship. I've been in those situations where I suddenly am doing toxic things like being obsessive where a person is, trying to know where they are, being controlling of what they do because I don't trust them.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've done that. I'm guilty. Raise your hand if you're guilty. Just send the hearts because you know you're guilty. All of you, yeah.
You're funny.
We're all guilty of it.
Yep.
We're all guilty of the tables turning and us being toxic because we're in a toxic situation.
Yeah.
I've been controlling because I don't trust somebody, absolutely. And that's not even me. That's not who I am.
But you know what? You know what I remember? Okay, so let's put things together because things are making sense right now. So he was like, oh, you know, Luna, it's okay. You know, when you go out, I give you the freedom to be who you want to be. I trust you. And I was just like, there's no way. So what is going on? So kind of like, he wouldn't call me. He wouldn't text me. He wouldn't ask me how I'm doing. I could just be out 3 o'clock at night. He wouldn't give a damn. I was just, and I was like confused. Do you care about me? Don't you care about me? And then my head was like, maybe he's cheating. That was like the next.
Yes. It's very toxic when you don't trust your partner. Toxic. Because we talked about number 1, patterns of disrespect. Number 2, dishonesty and lies. Number 3, envy and jealousy in a relationship. And number 4, aggressive speech. And we're on number 5, where it's controlling behavior. And I've seen patterns and also patterns in us and in everyone where when you end up being controlling in a relationship because you don't trust someone, you're now toxic. And the situation has made you toxic. Therefore, you're in a toxic relationship. So the sign might not be in the other person. And when you read on a list, controlling behavior in a relationship, and you're like, yeah, my man doesn't control me, but maybe you're controlling. And you have to sort of look in the mirror and say, wait, if I don't trust that person, I want to control their every move just to know what they're doing. That means that you are definitely in a toxic relationship, and it starts with you.
No, but hold on. It could be like both sides because...
Or both sides.
Because like, if let's say your partner is dishonest, right? You become controlling. So that just it goes back and forth. And then you, to a point, you start lying because you don't care. So they start becoming controlling because they feel that something is wrong. So that becomes like ping pong, back and forth.
Yes.
And there goes like from toxic, you know, situation, you become 2 toxic people in a toxic situation.
Yes. Let's be honest. That is something we can relate to. I can relate to it. She can relate to it. You all can relate. I know you. I know all of you. You all can relate to this. We've all been in situations like that where one person is dishonest and one person is controlling.
Yeah.
Like that. So it definitely is like that. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You definitely need to listen to your intuition. That's very, very important, Mel.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll be super honest. In my previous toxic relationship, right? I couldn't even hear my intuition talk.
Oh, yeah, that too.
And I got a great intuition. And I couldn't hear it talk at all. I couldn't hear it over all the screaming, the crazy thoughts, the dishonesty, the disloyalty. I couldn't hear myself think. And I think that's also it's a sign that you're in a toxic relationship when you can't even hear yourself think and you don't even know what the hell's going on.
I need to test on that in your situation because I remember sometimes you screaming on the phone and you're just coming out and talk back, and I'm just like, I think I said it right up. I think you're in a toxic relationship, but it was like, what toxic you're talking about? He was triggered. I'm like, okay.
I will be honest. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Okay. I'll speak from experience. If you are on the phone or in a person with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you find yourself screaming and having that fight for like 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
Maybe 4. Maybe 5 because no one can figure out who's right. You're in a toxic relationship.
No, but when you get out of the phone call and someone tells you, you were screaming, I think you're in a toxic relationship, but you say, my relationship is amazing. What are you talking about?
You're clearly in denial.
You're clearly in denial right there.
Yeah, so I can speak from experience. If you definitely find yourself arguing with someone a lot and trying to prove to them that they're toxic, but then you're acting toxic, well, then you're stuck in a toxic relationship.
There you go.
Because that was a lot of what I've been through, where it was constantly trying to prove who's right, which I know I was right. But that's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is I wasted years of my time trying to change someone who didn't want to change.
Yep.
And therefore I was being dishonest with myself. I was disrespecting myself. I was just not who I was. And that made me a toxic person in a relationship I would have never been in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can all relate to that, but you just need to know, like, if I could tell myself things years ago, it is toxic when you are on the phone or in person arguing for at least 1 to 3 hours. Okay, here's the limit. If you're arguing with someone more than an hour, you're in a toxic relationship.
Worse, if you keep repeating the same argument every single time that you talk to them on the phone.
You're in a toxic relationship.
Oh, yeah.
If you gotta repeat yourself and fight about the same thing once a week or twice or 7 times a week, you're in a toxic relationship.
You got a problem.
So these are all just signs from experience. Everyone in this chat, everyone on Facebook has toxic relationships going on 24/7. You know? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yep.
It's true.
You're
I
right.
swear, if I could have just went back in time and told myself, you're in a toxic relationship, rather than hearing it from her. Because, you know, I'm in denial. Like, I can help
We
everyone.
are all in denial. You know, when
Oh,
you're
yeah,
in
yeah.
a situation, you don't want to accept that.
Especially for, like, spiritual people, practitioners, psychologists, light workers, every one of us who are mental health, spiritual health, wellness coaches, all of us, right? Because we're friends with all of them. And we have this flaw. It's a human flaw where you can't even see your own problems, but you can help everybody, all 7-8 billion people. You can help them with their problems.
Yeah.
But you can never help yourself. It's just human, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I can help anybody. I can spot a toxic relationship from miles away. And when I was in a toxic relationship,
Sharon said it. She's like, the truth will set you free.
I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. But when I was in a toxic relationship, I couldn't see it. I thought the toxicity would calm down if I fight harder.
Yeah.
But guess what? It didn't work. Because it's only because the person lied. They said that they would change and they lied. And I was like, well, then what am I sticking around for?
To prove a point.
To prove a point. Exactly. To prove a point. So it doesn't help when you think you're always right in a relationship. So watch out for that. It's a key problem. And it's something that we don't often know. And again, if you need help knowing that you're in a toxic relationship, ask us. Message us 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Just message like, am I in a toxic relationship? This is what's going on. I'm going to tell you yes or no. So just always ask for help. I mean,
Definitely.
There's nothing wrong with asking for help. I wish I knew that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's true. So, number 6, when somebody is ignoring your needs, ignorance, ignoring when the worst. When you're crying and they don't care or pay attention or don't even look at you.
They say, I remember, I've heard like a bunch of times, like I've heard like from my stepmother, she used to say crocodile tears, like fake tears, you know, like, oh, you're not even crying, you're just crying for attention. When you actually cry, you have a problem. They say, oh, you're just crying for attention. You don't even want to cry.
Yeah, when you want to express your emotions and the person doesn't really care to listen, I mean, every single time. Like, they really don't care to listen. Every time you open your mouth and say, I got a problem and I'm hurting, can you please talk to me? And they say, I don't think you're having a problem, you're just an attention whore. You're in a toxic relationship.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Kathleen, welcome.
Hi, Kathleen.
Yes, and as Sharon said, the truth shall set you free. So if you guys have truths about your toxic relationship, release it in the chat. We would like to know your story.
Yep.
So it's true. So when it comes to ignoring needs, we've all been there. And I've been on the other seat too, and you have too, because we both dealt with liars. When you're dealing with a liar in a toxic relationship and you find yourself really not caring about if they feel a specific way, it's already gone. The trust is gone. The loyalty is gone. It's broken, and it's a toxic relationship because somebody's ignoring somebody else's emotions on a very constant basis.
And words that I have heard, again from my stepmother, I have learned like a lot from them, like from toxicity to every single problem, like on the book, right? So when I said, oh, you know, this happened to my life, I need emotional support, then it would just turn to, do you know how many problems I have? Who's gonna support me? And then you're like, what the hell? You know, who's gonna, like, I have a problem, I need your help. You are my family, I need help. Yep. And they say, you know, you don't have as many problems as I do. And then this happens every single time and it becomes a pattern. If you don't address it, it's going to keep running.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so whenever you find yourself being ignored about your emotions on a very, very daily, weekly basis in your relationship, even friendships is a very big thing with that, in those regards. Friendships, they make or break when somebody doesn't pay attention to your emotions. Because, you know, friends are for sharing emotions. Friends are for sharing experiences. And if you find that your friend is ignoring your Facebook messages, they're not your friend. It's toxic. So, you know, it's so obvious, but sometimes we need a second person to be able to tell us that something is toxic. When you constantly find yourself messaging your ex, let's be honest, all of you have done it, we've all done it. When you're messaging your ex again and again and again, and they're ignoring you. Or they're messaging you and you're ignoring them, that's toxic. That's toxic behavior. It might not be a relationship, but it's toxic. It's toxic as hell. So definitely watch out for that one. So Mel says, my ex would be very attentive for the first couple days and then take advantage of my vulnerability, then demand his needs. Typical.
I'm triggered by that. Yep. So that's kind of like they lure you in a sense. So in the beginning of our video, we talked about where 90% of the person acting as the best person ever, the best person you ever met. Like I even remember my ex, right? He was just like, oh, let's go on the weekend. Let's go to a nice restaurant. Let's go to a nice bar to listen to nice music. Let's have drinks. And then let's meet with friends, have all the fun. Go home. He says that one thing and everything is ruined. And then it will be like, how dare you judge me on one thing that I'm a human. I make mistakes. But we're talking about every weekend having to deal with that. So it's not a human mistake, really. Because it happens once, right? So if you're human, you just try to fix it some sort of way. When someone tells you, oh, you know, there's something wrong with our connection, I can help you fix it. And they say, oh, no, it's just like a coincidence. And they even pretend that they don't remember. And then becomes toxic.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's very negative people out there. There's a lot of negative, especially guys, because the male culture dominated and very traditional cultures around the world is very toxic in its own way. There's cultural toxicity taught in many homes. Like, for instance, racism is taught. You know, hate is taught. All those things are just taught behaviors. You know, kids don't have racist inclinations. Kids don't have those problems because they don't care. It's taught to them. So when especially guys, they're taught to be these macho guys, and I find that it's sad because there's a lot of guys where they act this way and they don't even know they're doing it. It's just what their father taught them, what their friends do. But that's toxic. That's no excuse. That is absolutely no excuse. Like you have to let that person know you're being toxic. I can't take it. Every time you do this to me, every week, every month, I feel very bad. Yeah. And not to say anything bad about you, but you need to change. And if you don't change, I can't do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Just set the boundary.
But you know what? They said, oh, I will change. That's even worse. Oh, okay.
When they lie.
They say, I will change. And then it takes a week where everything is lovey-done. Everything is so perfect.
It's perfect. And then they turn on you.
And then the same thing all over again.
Absolutely.
And then you say, oh, you're toxic again, we'll have a problem. They say, oh, don't leave me, I promise I will fix it. And then again, you go 1 week, everything's amazing, and then you go back to the pattern. So you have another toxic cycle where someone, you know, they say, oh, I'm going to fix it, I promise you. And then they do it again. And then you kind of like hope that they will fix it, but they don't.
No.
I had that with my ex all the time. It was like once a month, let's break up, and then let's fix that. That, you know what? That went like for 9 years.
Yeah. You never know. Time flies when you're in a toxic relationship. They say time flies when you're having fun, but also when you're in a toxic relationship. Yeah. You think, oh, it's gonna stop. 3 years later. You're still in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
You're right. She said they cannot maintain the mask.
Yeah,
Not for
those
long.
are guys that treat relationships like they're businesses. Like they treat it like it's a job. Like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna set up my little e-store, and it's just gonna make money on its own. Like that's what they think it is. Like they don't have to maintenance their relationship. Yes, you do. Like guys, like they have this. I don't know where they learned this. I don't know. It's just the culture of it. They think that women are too needy and that they don't need much. So you give them something, and then they're just fine. They think, well, if I just give them, affection, love, sex, and maybe a hug here and there, maybe some chocolate, then she'll shut up, and then I don't have to do nothing on the weekend, just go watch game with the boys. Like, it's this culture where there's no balance in the relationship, and this is often, in my opinion, why when a guy, a macho guy, or just a manly man, gets in a relationship, when he really wants to get in a relationship, sometimes he has to leave the boys behind. And he has to actually work on the relationship and fixing himself. It's not bad for a guy to change his ways and his culture for love. It's healthy to learn how to love. So I find that that's something that men do a lot. I've seen it. I've worked with a lot of men. And it's like they can't maintain the mask. Because the mask is just this fake facade that we're told that we're supposed to have. But it's just not normal. Not normal at all.
But as you said, what I learned that from, for example, from my situation, from my stepparents, this is how my stepfather used to treat my mother. So when she was going out and about, oh, this is what I need, and I'm crying and I have problems, she would just buy her things. So I learned
flowers.
So
when you're getting flowers for your wife every single week,
cheating.
You're in a toxic relationship. When you have to get flowers every Sunday because you've done something wrong, you're toxic.
Yeah,
and then. Toxic.
And then I learned in the relationship that I had afterwards, that's exactly what I was expecting from a guy to be like. Because this is my father, how he was like. And then his father, this is how he was like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a culture, and because it's so convenient, for men, they just don't want to get out of it.
Nope.
If I can just buy your silence, buy you to, anything to stop crying, that's so convenient. And sometimes for women, they also find it convenient because they're like, oh, and that's why it comes to the part where they say, oh, women, they just cry for attention sometimes because they say, if I cry, I might get a fur coat.
Exactly.
Because they know that men are taught like that, so they just sometimes they use it like that. Yeah. And then there's the toxicity. So men expect women to be a specific way, and women expect men to be a specific way, and this keeps going.
Yeah, it becomes a culture of men and women doing negative, toxic things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. See, speaking of toxic, making time fly. Oh my God, we've gotten almost to the end of the hour. So let's talk about number 7. Number 7, the final thing that I mentioned in the video that I posted on Wednesday was basically trigger. Trigger people. God. So when you're in a relationship and you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and anything you do could trigger an anger response or trigger disrespect, trigger dishonesty, trigger all kinds of things. When you yourself are in a relationship and you feel like things that they do trigger your most darkest impulses, it's toxic. It's toxic. We've all been there at some point, whether it's small or very, very big. When you're with somebody who's a toxic person, toxic people get triggered by the most mundane things. It can be very toxic. That
you can even drink water, and the sound that you make when you drink water, and then the person looks at you. They get triggered in a second, so you got a problem with your hands. Like,
everything you do, they
just they just hate it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between somebody who is toxic and somebody who is, mentally unstable. Because there are people who have, sort of like mental wellness issues where they get triggered by the smallest things. Like, there's a difference. But when you're in a relationship and somebody is triggered intentionally, that's trauma in their past that they're blaming on you. And so you don't want to be in that relationship. If you find yourself in relationships where the man or the woman is always triggered by things that you do in a very negative way and they can never have a positive trigger, it's toxic.
Or they know your triggers and they use it against you.
Yeah.
So they know what triggers you and they do it.
Toxic.
So let's say you say to the guy, I hate when we're walking outside and you're looking at girls. And then he knows that and he's like, he looks the girl up and down. You're like, why did you do that? So you get triggered, then they laugh. They're like, oh, so now I know that you really care about me. Yeah. But it's something that bothers you when you have told them already. So they take that and they use it against you.
Absolutely. Toxic. So those are 7 of my favorite signs that you're in a toxic relationship, because they're very holistic. They're based on a lot of truth and experience that I've seen with myself and other people. But I did mention 3 of the spiritual aspects of toxic relationships. So with the time that we have left, let's talk about the spiritual aspects of it, because I think that, it's very important to pay attention to it in relationships. So the first one is emotional security and spiritual security in your relationship. How basically you want to come home and you want to be with that person and you want to feel secure. You want to feel an aura of love, an aura of safety in a relationship. If you don't feel that aura of safety and support with your relationship and your lover, then you might just be in a toxic relationship. It's important that we have our spiritual safety, because I talk about spirituality because it's not just us. It's like our aura. It's our environment. It's everything we love. You could walk in a room and want the environment to be very, very sound and peaceful and beautiful. And if you don't find that while walking into an apartment with your ex or your lover, that's toxic. You don't have to be around that. You don't. So it's something that we don't pay attention to a lot, is that if you have an ex or an ex for a reason, don't hang around them, because it can toxify your aura. It can make you feel very sad when you don't have to be. So definitely pay attention to being around people who are toxic, because you don't need that. You have to pay attention to people who are very, very negative. Don't be around them. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
So that's number 1 with the spiritual aspect. Number 2 is alignment of soul purposes, alignment of goals. This is something pretty big, because, if your goals and the other person's goals are not aligned in life, toxicity will breed out of it. I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen it with other people, that you think because, like you're a dancer and this person's a lawyer, that it's going to go really well. But when you are in 2 separate sides of the city and that person doesn't want to involve you in their life, you're not even part of their work life, you're not part of their home life, you're not part of any life, there's a separation of alignment. There's soul path problems where, when you have a loving relationship or a friendship, 2 people should be able to have very similar paths. But when you have a very separate path from the person you love, it can breed toxicity. So you gotta watch out and be careful for it, because it will just start a fight eventually, or maybe that's just not a friendship to begin with, Mel said, how does one stop thinking about old toxic exes from years ago?
I mean, for me, my best advice is, when my mind goes back there, I just think of all the things that trigger me and all the things that make me become a toxic person when I didn't want to become one. And I ask myself, do I really want to go back to that behavior? Do I really want to be that person? Because when you're stuck in a toxic relationship, nothing else matters. It's all about them, because it's the energy that they bring in. So let's say that you want to connect with your family, with your friends, or perhaps a new love interest. That toxicity keeps you there. And it keeps you there, like, on your feet, and they want all your attention, everything that they can get from you.
Yeah. For me, I'd say that it's okay to not be able to not think about an ex, because exes, especially negative ones, they take up a large part of your history and your memory and your emotional trauma sometimes too, because bad breakups, let's say, we've all been through it. Bad breakups really affect you negatively. But when it comes to trauma and grief, which I'm going to talk about next week, grieving a loved one, which is very important, especially in my families who have lost people this last year. When you break up with somebody, it's like a death, and you feel like you're grieving that person, the good things about them. And this is something we don't really accept often, is when we let go of people, friendships, exes, the people have passed into another life. Those are all grieving. You don't just grieve the dead. You grieve people you lose. You grieve jobs you've lost. You grieve opportunities you've lost. You grieve, groups of friends you've lost.
Yeah.
You grieve circle of friends. You grieve all kinds of stuff. Even losing your favorite hobby, you grieve. We have a larger spectrum of grieving. So this is something that it was funny because I came up with this when I was a teenager. I remember doing this with a friend in high school. She had just lost her dad, and she was so grieving. She was crying every day. And I told her, I just channeled it out of the sky. I'm like, if you want to be able to get over something and stop thinking of the negative memories in a place, you need to replace them with new memories. And so downtown Chicago, the Picasso statue, she said, me and my dad, we used to climb up to the top and then slide down again and again and again on that incline at Daly Plaza. And I was like, let's go there and we're going to work on this. This is me at 16 years old. It's ridiculous. So I take her there on the CTA, and then I go up with her and I hold her hand, and then we slide down, and then we go back up and we slide down, we laugh and we play. And I told her, in order to get over the sad memories that you have, and also to kind of like replace the good memories that you have in a very sad situation, you need to go replace those memories with better ones. Because you're not going to not remember something. Memory sticks forever. When you're alive, when you're dead, the memory goes on. So you have to replace the memory. You have to replace it with better, beautiful things. So if you have your favorite restaurant that you went to with your ex, and you don't want to go there ever again, every time you eat Cuban food or every time you eat Puerto Rican food, you keep on thinking about that ex. Well, then what you need to do is you either need to bring a new man there, or you need to bring a good friend that you're able to be open with. So I would take her and be like, it really hurts me to go to this restaurant. You and me, let's go there and let's have a laugh. So we're going to go there. We're going to spend a few hours there. We're going to laugh our ass off. And then I'm going to come and be like, you know what? I was strong enough to face that. I made a better memory. Yeah. And I'm going to continue to make new memories. And I'm never going to let go of the old memories, the good and the bad. But I'm alive today. I'm moving forward today. So I have to be aware of who I am today. Otherwise, I'm not alive at all. Yeah. So this is something I'm going to explain next week as well, about how to deal with grieving. Because when you lose an ex, you grieve the good and the bad. The bad, because the bad, maybe you kind of think, oh, maybe they love me. The good, there's a good in everybody. There's good memories about everybody toxic. I have plenty of people in my family, people who are friends that we're not on good terms. But I have plenty of good memories. I don't let those go. Those are mine. I claim those memories, and nobody's going to take away the good. But I acknowledge that time changes everything. And to desire something that is in the past, to be present, means you're stuck in the past. So it's time for you to talk to someone about it, talk to your friends, talk to us. We'll talk to you every week. And just to talk it out and understand that you're in the present. Right. And you don't need to live in the past. And then use that every time you grieve a person, living or dead. And it really helps. Active, conscious, replacing of memories and adding new memories onto your arsenal of beautiful things in a place. You don't have to stop thinking about your ex. You just have to start replacing those places, people, and things with brand new, beautiful things. There's plenty of people out there you've never met. 7 to 8 billion people on the planet. There's plenty of opportunities for you to have better memories. Yeah. But also,
though, when I said earlier that, for me, I try to take, not to think about the ex, because I'm not trying to think about the person. And it's not about the memories. It's about why exactly did I think of him? So what triggered me? Yeah. Because usually it's a trigger, because memories don't just pop out of nowhere. So let's say you're watching a movie, right? And then all of a sudden your ex comes to your mind. Perhaps either something in the movie reminded you of him or her, right? Mm-hmm. Or you watch the movie with a person with your ex, and then you just realize, oh my God, it's something that we shared. And so it's when they come up. When you identify what's the problem, and when you say, oh, I know exactly what's happening, it's when you take control of the situation and when you let them go. Because it's not about them as them, but about the way that they make you feel and what they caused you at that time. It could just be anything. So let's say, as you said, Mel, you just avoid specific places to go, because they remind you of your ex, right? But you have to understand, though, why exactly you avoid those places. It's not about the place itself. It's about something that happened to the place. So let's say you went into the restaurant and then they say, oh, I'm seeing someone else. And then you go broken up into that place. Or maybe it was your anniversary and then you feel like very emotional about it. So it's not about just them as them, but the memory of what exactly is it, good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely go out there. And next week I'm going to talk about, again, grieving a loved one. It's going to be a very, very big deal because I'm currently grieving a loved one since December. So it's going to be a very big deal. Self-healing, healing everyone else. We do need to learn how to grieve properly. And grieving is not just about the dead. Grieving is about everyone alive. Mm-hmm. Grieving is an everyday thing. And grief counseling is something that we also do. So we'll definitely get to working on that together, all of us together sharing our experiences and stories. The one thing that I didn't mention from the video as well was the third thing about the spiritual aspect.
Right?
Yeah, make a list. Make a list. It's something that I have to do with my family in this coming weeks is make a list of all the beautiful places and things that we've been with people at past and go to them every single week. Every single week we can honor them. Every single week we can make good memories there, bring new family, new friends. Like family expands. It doesn't ever end. You know,
Yeah.
New children, new family, new friends. So just an entire list. Share it with us. Who knows? It'll be funny if we have the same list, you know?
Yeah.
But so the third thing is how your relationship affects others. So just something to spiritually focus on is the spirituality aspect of it is when you're in a relationship and you go places and you affect people negatively about the aura of the relationship. If it's so toxic that other people can feel it, your children can feel it, your family can feel it, and you can't even see it, there's something wrong. It's toxic.
Or you have toxic problems like I had with my stepfamily and I brought it into my relationship.
Yeah.
And then my ex will complain, you know, you brought me all your problems. And I'm like, you gotta deal with them because they got into my baggage.
Yeah. Absolutely. So remember that you as a person, but also a relationship has an aura. Mm-hmm. And that aura affects other people. So pay attention to that spiritually, that the way you are and that toxicity. And we see it a lot with parents. If the parents have a good, beautiful relationship that gives off this beautiful aura and the children vibe off of it.
Yeah.
But when the parents are very bad and they're always ignoring their children, the whole family can feel it. Why? It's not because of only what they do. It's because their aura, their energy, everyone feels it.
Yep.
So pay attention to that spiritual aspect of how your relationship and other relationships affect you. That will give you a good clue to when something is toxic and when something is healthy. It's how does it feel around other people? And also the children. Protect the damn children from your toxic relationship. They don't need it.
Yep.
They didn't ask for it. Keep it to yourself. And the biggest thing, if you're on the phone or you're having an argument for more than 1 hour, you're in a toxic relationship. I learned that, and you should learn it too. But yeah, it was a pleasure speaking with all of you today. Yeah, that's our time. And you can leave questions, comments, funny stories, serious stories in the comments in this video afterwards as well. We'll answer the questions all week. We don't mind.
Yep.
Let's be honest about toxic relationships. Let's create spaces for people to feel safe and talk about their toxic relationships because we're all learning and everyone's not perfect and we're all learning every single day how to be better people. So we hope you guys have a wonderful Friday. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah, watch the replay and we look forward to all your great questions and comments and wonderful things and spread the love. Spread the knowledge to everyone you want. We'll feel free to do it.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Mwah. Much love.
Happy Friday, guys.
Happy Friday.
Yes, enjoy your weekend.